So I believe this is a bit of a review for you guys, but in the event that you never saw us before, we've been talking about equations like this, which are called quadratics. In the last section, we saw how to do it by completing the square, which is helpful if you can't factor. In the previous section before that, we saw how to do it by factoring. But there's another way called the quadratic formula, and basically it says if you have a basic quadratic, and we write it like this. So by this we mean like whatever's in front of x squared we'll call a, whatever's in front of x we'll call b, whatever's by itself we'll call c. So if you have a quadratic and it's equal to 0, then x is going to always equal the opposite, not negative b, but the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a, where a is the number in front of x squared, b is the number in front of x, and c is the number that's off by itself. So you're just plugging in numbers. Like basically I'm looking at this problem and I know that a is 9, that b is -5, and that c is -1. I do want to say too, this is a sharp right or a sharp left from what you guys are used to doing. Usually when you solve equations, you're undoing what was done to do the opposite, or we can, make sense of how when we factor it, it multiplies back out. This is like coming from nowhere, right? So when you get into higher level math classes, you can kind of see where this formula comes from if that kind of thing interests you. But right now, we're just saying, yeah, whatever numbers make this equation work, I'm going to find them by plugging them into this crazy looking formula with these types of parameters. And it's a lot of work, and it gives you the answer. It's kind of a neat thing. So x is going to equal the opposite of b, so that's +5, plus or minus the square root. I'm going to square this in my head. That's 25. Don't use your calculator for that. Most people do it wrong on their calculator. Minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. So I would just, let me iterate a couple things I said there. A lot of times kids will try to do this part in their calculator, and they'll put this in incorrectly, and the way they put it in, they get a -25 to pop out, and that messes everything up. So I don't mind you guys doing this calculation in your calculator, but I definitely would not square the -5 on the calculator. I would just know that this is 25, and I would input a 25. Now, this is a pretty big jungle of symbols here, so if I was doing this type of thing, I would recommend simplifying this first. So figuring out what 25 minus 4 times 9 times -1 is. And so that's going to end up equaling 5 plus or minus 61 all over 18. And then we would try our best to see if the 61 is going to break down, like, by which I mean, are there any perfect squares that divide 61 evenly? But I'm pretty sure there are definitely no perfect squares that go into 61, and I think 61 might even be a prime number. So then our answers could be, or would be, x equals 5 plus the square root of 61 all over 18, and 5 minus the square root of 61 all over 18. That all over is super duper important. That you have to, like, that 18's got to be under both the 5 and the root 61. So in some ways this is not that hard because we're just literally identifying a, b, and c. So, if you recognize that a is always what's in front of x squared and b is what's in front of x and c is off by itself, if you can identify a, b, and c, you're just plugging it into there, and then you're just kind of like doing order of operations, taking it one step at a time, cleaning this up, cleaning that up, cleaning that up. So it's a lot of stuff you've all done before. It's not that difficult. However, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense until you understand where the formula comes from, and that comes down the road. So good luck with this, and let me know if you have any questions.